Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Microsoft Power BI, Turning Data into Insights, presented by our expert technical instructor here at New Horizons, David Shaw. My name is Mariela Salinas, and I'll be assisting and moderating our session today. We are in Zoom for today's webinar, and we will be sharing a copy of this recording with you in an email after the session. We do encourage participation throughout the session, so please use the chat or that Q&A option for our short Q&A after the presentation. Educate 360 is so excited to present this webinar today. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to you, David.
Thank you, Mariella. My name is David Shaw, and I'm one of the instructors here at New Horizons. Today's webinar, Microsoft Power BI, turning data into insights. And so about the next 20 minutes, I'm going to create a Power BI report. And I'm going to publish that report. But before I do, I actually have to go and get data. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about first in the line of what's going on. So let me get out of this and to minimize this one real quick to get back to here. This is where I want to actually be at. So thanks for all for being here. And like I said, I want to start with the Getting Data initiative of collecting our data. When we talk about Power BI, it's all based on company or data, whether that's personally that you're developing or it's other data that you have out there that the organization is collecting through different systems. You may have your own spreadsheets, or there might be CSV files, collected data. We centralize that data if possible. If not, we can go and pull data from multiple locations. In this particular case, you'll notice that up and top, and I'm going to zoom in so you can kind of see what's going on. I have an area where I just started a blank, untitled new report. And inside of here, here's the data ribbon or data area on this ribbon, on the home ribbon. And you'll see all the built-ins, the Excel workbooks, the OneLake catalog, SQL Server. I can actually create a table and do data entry here if need be. Dataverse. And then we also have our recent sources that we've already connected to. We can go back and connect again. But the bigger one is this get data over here on the side. This allows me to go into different types of sources. You can see off this list, we've got Excel workbooks, we've got models that have already been completed that we already have available to us, data flows, Dataverses, SQL service, analytical services, analysis service, text and CVS, web, blank queries, and also all the way down at the bottom is the more group, because there's a lot more data that we can get a hold of, whether we hold that data here on premise or we go and get that data from online services. You'll see that when I clicked on the more, a dialog box popped up and we've got the all category. We have the file category, databases, Microsoft Fabric, Power Platform, Azure, online services, and even other. You'll see under the all, I've got the Excel and the text there, JSON, PDFs, SharePoint folders or SharePoint list, Microsoft Exchange. I can pull things from Microsoft Exchange or make that connection to there. Access databases, Oracle databases, SQL databases, even stuff that's online if I need to. So when I go to the online, like your Dynamic 365, your Exchange, Salesforce, Google Analytics, Adobe Analytics, there's GitHub. These are all different sources that we can go to. Now for this one, I have an Access database that I'm going to get to. So I'm going to go ahead and connect to that database. And I need credentials. That's going to be the other thing. So if you have data that you're trying to get to, make sure you have the credentials to do that. In this case, I have this database, Leaps and Bounds, a little travel agency that we use for classes that I'm going to go ahead and connect to. It's doing its connecting part. It's going to show me all the tables in the database or in the Excel spreadsheet, all the different pages or tables, named tables. Same thing as SQL, it will list all the tables there. and all the other areas that we can get to. So depending upon what that application is that you're trying to connect. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and select these three, agent information, bookings, and destination. And I have some options off of this. So you'll notice that over on the side, I do get a preview on the right. When I click agent information, it shows me the agent information. When I click on bookings, it shows me the bookings. These are all the booking amounts. Now it only shows you up to 1,000 records. So if you don't have 1,000 records, like agent information only shows 11, but bookings has over 10,000. This preview that I'm seeing over here on the right is only up to the first 1,000 records. Just giving you an idea of what data is in here, and I can scroll over to the right, down, whatever I need to do. Now, my next thing is, before I do this, I use the letters ETL: extract, transform, and load. So what I'm going to do before I load this up, and yes, there's a nice green load button down there at the bottom, I'm going to transform it. And transforming means to clean, to shape, to get this in a proper working fashion that I can use going forward. So it loads up Power Query. And if you've used Power Query, and I just need to refresh this, if you've used Power Query in Excel, it's the exact same thing here. It's just going in and giving me options to keep rows, remove columns, things that I don't need, making sure the data types are correct. If I were to go through the transform there, I could actually pivot and unpivot. I could create new columns. I can go in and add columns. I can add my measurements. If you're familiar with DAX or calculate columns, that's a place that I can actually put measurements or those new columns and do calculations over there through that menu item. And that now gets loaded up into the model that is my end result. So in this particular case, I'm going to do a couple things. I need to go through each one of these tables. By default, it actually puts in a new column for some reason when it does this. So I need to remove this first column, and that's all I'm going to do. And I'm going to go to bookings, and I've got an ID here, but we've already got a booking number. They're basically the same pieces of information. Again, performance-wise, I want to go ahead and get rid of these columns because that's just going to have to load that data up, and that's going to hinder performance going forward. The last one is the agent information. It's got an ID. So again, I'm just going to right mouse click and remove, and I can do that and kind of clean up this data going on. Now, over on the right-hand side, you'll notice that there is a query settings. The query settings also has the applied steps. These are things that I've done. So I don't necessarily have an undo button, but I do have an undo button because all I have to do is click on the X next to remove columns, and that comes back. So this is a place that shows everything I've done to shape and to clean this particular data set. All right. And you'll notice I've got some extra columns selected. This is things that we do in shaping just to check the data, check the column quality, check the column distribution, and also check the column profile that shows me statistics and how the values are distributed throughout this particular table. And so again, I'm going to do that and pop that up. And that one, that particular column, there's that one, 11 distinct agents, 0 unique. They're not listed one time, so it just lets me know a little bit about this data. Now, once I've done all this, my next step is to actually go ahead and apply or to close and apply. So that closes down Power Query and then loads that up into the model itself. I'm not done with the model, but I'm getting closer. This is going to load up. Hopefully, apply the changes. There we go. Loads up. Agent information, bookings, destinations, the 3 tables I had before. Goes through and loads that data, putting it into the model. Very similar to what you can do in pivot tables or power pivots In Excel. Same type of premise is happening here. And while that's loading up, I'll take the first question there is answer that one live. 1,000 records, a limitation, or is it just a software only display? Yes and no. I mean, it's the same question, the or take out the or. That's all that's going to display. If you have 10,000 records like I have in destination, that's going to be the 10,000. I'm only going to see 1,000 because that's what Microsoft's going to allow me to see. So it is a limitation. It is also what will display at that point. Error means maybe there was a calculation bringing in that data. And so while that data was being brought in, you might get some type of error message based off of that. And I'm hoping that that helps with that one. And then the last one, when it says loading, where's it loading to? Ah, great question, because that's my transition. That's going to show me the next thing. So this is what's called the model view model. There we go. You'll notice I've got some navigation off to the right here, and I'm trying to get my screen just right. There we go. We have what's called table view, report view, and model view. Those are the three major ones. And so to answer that last question, what's it loading up to? It's loading up to this model, which then allows me to create a schema or somewhat of a schema or relationships between the data itself. So the data is being loaded because by default, that was imported into this model here. So in this case, I need to link or make a relationship between agent information and bookings. And to do that, I can do it very simply, just clicking and dragging where those fields meet. And I'll kind of zoom in while you can see that, hopefully. So there's agent number, and all I did was click and drag right there. I'll let go what has the outline on it, and that will create a relationship between those two tables. So when I go to bookings, I can get an amount that's going to show me the agent's name and not just the number. It'll actually tie together to that. And here is the relationship happening: agent information, agent number, bookings, agent number. It is active, and it is a one-to-many relationship that's going to happen. So we'll go ahead and save it, and it will draw the line between those two tables. So there's my one side, there's my many side, which is represented by an asterisk or the infinity, and that's where you get those items joined together. You can also manage the relationships in this view. And so here's my first one, bookings and agent information. And I can also create a new relationship between bookings and destinations. And we have a commonality between those two, and that happens to be the destination number and destination number. So all I have to do is click on those columns, selects those, makes it active. It's a many to one in this case because it reversed it, and we save. And now I have a relationship between those two. I'll close this, and you can see the line drawn between the two. All right. So now that I have that relationship, I can go out here to my visualization, and I can start creating my reports. And just a simple little report that I'm going to do a table here. I'll do the matrix, and I'm going to bring down the agent name to show in a column, and the bookings, I'm going to choose the amount. And when I click on that, that will now show me, I thought I clicked on amount, there we go. This will actually show me which agent and how much they sold in the bookings table. And that's linked together at that particular point. Hope that makes some sense to create that type of visual. There's other things that you can do on here. You can make bar charts, you can make column charts. We can do some different visualizations. So, oh, didn't want to change that. Wanted to go back to there and you click out here, and there we go. So we'll do another visualization and we'll put some regions on here. We'll put some region. We'll put the amount. So now I have a bar chart showing that, hey, in our destination, more sales, more bookings happen to these particular regions: North America first, Europe second, Asia third, all the way down to Australia. And we can go in there and sort and filter and show exactly what information we want from this particular report. Something that's also nice, because we have geolocation information, not only can we do things like that, we can also do tree maps. We have some different visualizations over here on this side. You'll notice bar charts, we've got column charts, we've got area charts, we've got line charts, pie charts, scatter charts, funnels, tree maps, and maps, as well as speedometers, tachometers, whatever that's called, and then just regular cards. But there's also tables where we can go in and create tables like I did on that first one. This is a really nice one that I can do, is a map, and I'm going to put in here countries and amount. And this is actually to show me a global map. And you can see by looking at the map here, the bigger the bubble, the more it was sold that particular location. So you can keep in mind that the US had the most sales, and the smaller dots over here in Australia were a little bit less sales. Now I'm going to take this one step further and I'm going to make this interactive. I'm going to make it interactive. And doing that by clicking on these, forgot to click off the map. There we go. I keep doing that and I'm not sure why. That's just one of those things. I'm going to bring in another tool. It's going to look a little strange for the moment because there's nothing in there, but I'm going to pull in the country. Actually, not the country, the region. I want the region on this one. And I'm going to change the visualization a little bit. So yes, there is some formatting that I can do. And I'm going to turn this into a tile. And you can see these tiles down here. But with those tiles, I can go ahead and click on them and they zoom in to that particular area. So there's Europe, there's North America, there's South America, there's Australia, Middle East, Asia, and Africa there. And that's called the slicer. It's a really nice way of filtering or making it interactive as we go along. I'm going to answer one question here right now. Is the expanding the previous question about loading, is the data being copied, moved to somewhere else? Yes and no. It depends upon what type of data it is. Can you import it or direct query it? And direct query would be a live preview of that data, or live data as it's happening. The import is what I did. That's the default with the Access database. So that's now part of the model. That data got moved over into the model. It does not affect the underlying data though. So anything I do over here does not affect what goes on in the original data source. So if I go to leaps and bounds and I add a new record or a new agent or anything, that would not show up here. If I put formulas together or anything in my visuals, that would not affect that data over back in the database. A direct query, same thing, but now we're getting live updates. It's a live direct query means that it's going to give me the most up-to-date information without me refreshing the model. The cross filtering is a way of going through and setting up whether we filter from one area to the other. It's kind of like a many to many, and it does have some issues, and there's a lot more to it, and I know that's not going to answer your question there, Becky, but because we've got two different places where the data is, where we filter destination and we filter bookings. If I filter one way, it filters the other way, and vice versa. So usually you want to filter from one so it doesn't cross over to the other one and not show you the end result. Simplistic answer, and I'm hoping that answers that question. Does the slicer have the ability to cover ocean basins versus the land masses? It depends upon how the slicer was defined in the regions. In this particular case, the regions were defined by name, and so it matches up with the mapping. Now, in the mapping side of things, you can set up some customization there, but you'd have to have the table that goes along with that. All right. Now, I've made a couple of pages, and yes, I can rename these and do some different things. And I call this first one overview or whatever I want. All I can do is go down here and I call this overview. If I can type over, overview, and we'll do this next one, and I'll call this the map. And the reason why I want to do this is because I'm going to do the last thing, and that is make it accessible to everybody. And to do that, all I have to do is publish it to, I guess I want to save this. This is the webinar, and can save in that particular folder because that's on my desktop. That will be fine. I saved the report, saves the model, saves all the data that was loaded up. I'm going to go ahead and put it in my workspace, and it's publishing to the second tool that's involved with Power BI, and that is the service side. So there's desktop side, which is the tool I've been using, and then there's also the service side. So when I click on this, on open in the Power BI, well, I thought it would already go ahead and do that, but I'll go ahead and do it from this side because I already had the page. I can go ahead and go to my workspace. And here is webinar report and webinar semantic model. And so when I click on the report, I can now see that report up here. There was the map page. There was the overview page. And again, we've got the slicers. So somebody who gets shared with can actually interact with this particular document, as long as I share the document with them. And that's something I can do up here. I can go through and share it, and I can export it out to Excel or even to a PowerPoint presentation, or put it into a PDF format for that, or just download this so I can work with it offline myself, because maybe I have access to the report, but I can't make changes to this report here. So hopefully that kind of helps answer a couple of those questions down that we had in the Q&A. I'm not sure if anybody else has any questions, but Mariella, I'll kind of turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. This was a lot of great info for our audience today. And I just wanted to let our audience know that if they wanted any more info on this topic, or if they wanted to learn a little bit more about Power BI, they can go ahead and visit us at newhorizons.com or click on that link I dropped in the chat. And if anyone missed out on any part of this session, we will be sharing a recording with all of you in an email after the webinar. So please be on the lookout for that. I think that that pretty much covers all of the questions, and we just got a really awesome piece of feedback, which is that this was an awesome training. So thank you so much for joining us today, audience, and thanks again, David.
Thank you all.
Alrighty, we will all see you all hopefully very soon. Go off, go learn data, go share data, and we'll see you all in the classroom. Bye for now.